The New York Times just exposed one of the most beloved YouTubers, MrBeast, for allegations that were made 2 years ago and have since been deleted by the Accuser. Do you guys remember the video I uploaded all the way back in October of 2019 talking about MrBeast's editor who accused MrBeast of being mean to him? Yeah, despite that story being completely dead in the water, apparently it's breaking news to the New York Times reporter Taylor Lorenz, who ended up writing the article on MrBeast. Another news YouTuber, Phillip DeFranco, reacted to all of this in one of his recent videos, titled MrBeast Exposed? The New York Times hit piece backlash. Here is what he said.
Primarily, this piece and what a lot of the focus has been on is the alleged toxic work environment behind the scenes. But also now we're seeing a lot of pushback on social media against the claims in the Times article. And that's because of a now deleted video from Turner, who of course is one of the main accusers in this article, starting to circulate. And in that video, he paints a drastically different picture, calling it a dream job, recommending others work there, also saying that the decision for him to leave was mutual.
If you have the opportunity to get this job that I had, totally take it. It's a lot of fun. It was basically just like a friendship, and going to work was a blast each and every day.
With him then going on to say in the video that his actual primary reason for leaving was because they knew that he wasn't in the job for the long haul, because he wanted to move to Los Angeles, he wanted to go to college, he wanted to backpack around Asia, so they decided to part ways. With him even saying that even though he was no longer working there, MrBeast offered and continued to pay for his rent so that he could stay in the apartment as long as he needed, right? And saying they even continued to pay him as though he was working for an unspecified period of time.
And that is basically funding my trip to backpack across Asia. He's saying, you don't have to work for me, but I'll still pay you. And because of that, I hope that lets you live in LA, go to college, backpack Asia. Whatever you want to do after this, I want to set you up for that.
And with him ultimately saying,
if you're watching this, MrBeast, I love you, bro.
We see people going, okay, so he said what he said in the New York Times article, then we see him in this video, then you have also others pushing back against that video, saying this isn't coming out of nowhere, that Turner actually allegedly shared tweets describing a negative experience, that he posted videos as well. And while of course those have since been deleted, there are of course re-uploads, including one video where he tells a story about MrBeast being unhappy with him and wiping an entire video that he was editing.
Comes in the room and he goes, you absolute, get back in that room, or I swear to God, Turner. Jesus Christ, how many times do I have to tell you how to edit this video? What are you,
And in that video, according to the re-uploads, he claimed that he only posted the positive things to clout chase because he was afraid of what would happen if he spoke negatively about the situation. But then, obviously, because he said that, there you have people pushing back and saying, well, isn't he just clout chasing in the New York Times now? And that is essentially where we are with this story. And as far as my opinion, just to be transparent, I have a MrBeast bias. I personally think that MrBeast is one of the most exciting people to watch in our space right now. I think he's pushing our industry further. Everything that I've seen makes me feel like he is a good guy and he's not just doing it for showmanship, whether it be MrBeast philanthropy or other stuff. Though I guess if you're being a cynic about it, you could say that he's using that as a way to shield himself from any kind of future hits. Also, that's not to say that I agree with everything that he's done. I still don't fully like that they took a PPP loan. I have concerns about what he's doing with investing in creators moving forward, because while it could be very cool, I think that it's kind of just an MCN in different wrapping. But then finally, regarding the situation at hand, it's hard to have any sort of solid opinion when one of the main people speaking out is this Turner kid, right? When you have someone who has publicly said, I said something that was not true because I was clout chasing, it understandably is going to make people skeptical about what you are claiming, right? Are you telling the truth or are you lying? Are you kind of telling the truth, but you're embellishing a lot? We don't know. And because the Times piece doesn't really fully address and dive into the flip-flop nature of Turner's claims, it ends up feeling like a hit piece. And hey, I don't have a perfect track record in calling these things. It's also probably the reason why I get so angry when I'm kind of proven wrong, when I think someone was a good person. But MrBeast to me in no way feels like a bad actor. But also I'm just one guy and this is kind of my opinion and feeling section.
So all things considered, Phillip DeFranco gave a pretty neutral and fair overview of the allegations against MrBeast by Turner. But despite Phillip DeFranco's approach in the video, the author of the article, Taylor Lorenz, still got very mad at him on Twitter. She tweeted out, Phillip DeFranco, this video was frustrating and wrong. Turner is not the main person speaking out, as the story says. This report was based on interviews with 11 former employees and business associates of MrBeast, which you failed to mention. Calling my reporting a hit piece when you ignore the reporting mentioned in the actual story and misrepresent the claims is dishonest and rude. If you have questions about my stories or reporting process, my DMs are open, and I'm always happy to have a conversation. Cat 10 Bar's response to her by saying, I don't understand how this is a hit piece in any sense of the word. A significant portion of the article points to his biz skills, and it features positive quotes from fans. If this is a hit piece, what is the Dobrik story? Taylor responds, it's not. It's a well-reported, comprehensive profile that takes the good with the bad. I spoke to nearly 30 people total for this story, and had long convos with MrBeast's team over email. That's what fair reporting is, and it's disappointing to see a big creator who purports to support journalism make such a bad faith attack based on personal bias toward a fellow large creator. It makes me wonder if big creators will ever support accountability in the ecosystem. Cat 10 Barch responds again to Taylor's original tweet by saying, ugh. To which Taylor responds, I fact-checked the claims of the 11 workers, several of whom shared messages and videos validating their accounts. Dismissing worker accounts of their own workplace, some of whom spent years in, to an audience of 6.4 million without evidence because you personally like the guy is not okay. Cat 10 Barch responds, if 11 of your employees are moved enough by their experience to speak to the media, you're a bad employer. Full stop. Amanda Perilli responds to Taylor's original tweet by saying, influencers get mad when the media doesn't take the industry seriously, and then when we do, they get mad because we are finally holding them accountable. CoffeeZilla quote tweets her and says, this is so unbelievably disingenuous. Influencers want fair coverage, not biased hit pieces designed to get clicks. Taylor Lorenz had a bad source that has repeatedly contradicted himself, and she laundered it on the biggest newspaper as if credible. Embarrassing. Phillip then responds directly to Taylor Lorenz by saying, Taylor, just be honest. You made a thinly veiled hit piece on MrBeast, so you could still get the outrage clicks while still making it like it wasn't the whole point of your article. So YouTubers would still trust talking with you. Cat 10 Bar's responds to Phillip by saying, that's insane. This piece had to go through tons of editors just to get off the ground. It's the New York Times style's desk. You can't just go after people you don't like. I mean Phil, just be honest. You personally like Jimmy, and feel compelled to defend him. Nerd City responds to her by saying, let's be honest, this video was inconvenient to the false narrative you're pushing. He then shows this clip of MrBeast's former editor, Turner.
It wasn't an easy decision, although it wasn't my decision. I don't know, I think it was mutual. This was a dream job for so long, and when I got it, I was so happy I got it, and the job is still an amazing job. If you have the opportunity to get this job that I had, totally take it. It's a lot of fun. It was basically just like a friendship, and going to work was a blast each and every day. So they sat me down at a table, and it was MrBeast and the manager and then me. So basically just like them two on one side, me on another side. He basically just said, hey man, I know this is kind of random. Realize that you aren't long-term in this, because I was planning on either moving to Los Angeles, backpacking across Asia, which I'm gonna do, or go to college in the fall. I just said, we really just want people who are gonna be in here for the long term, and you have other aspirations, we can see that, and we know that's what you should be focusing on. And they told me that they admired like my work ethic, everything was good about what I did, and I really didn't do anything wrong. It was just that they wanted people who would be there for the long run. It was basically mutual. They asked me, are you still gonna do this? And I was like, yes. And they're like, all right, but you know, this is what we're gonna say. We're gonna say you're gonna be let go if you answer yes. And I was like, yes. You know what I'm saying? Also, by the way, MrBeast paid for my rent every month when I lived in North Carolina, and he said, all right, you can live here as long as you want. You can literally stay in this like pretty expensive apartment just until you feel comfortable leaving. Don't feel like you're in a rush. Stay as long as you want. Stay for months if you want to. It doesn't matter to us. They're still paying me right now. I'm still technically working. I'm not gonna give like any numbers or anything. They said we're still gonna pay you for a while, and that is basically funding my trip to backpack across Asia. He's saying, you don't have to work for me, but I'll still pay you, and because of that, I hope that lets you live in LA, go to college, backpack Asia, whatever you want to do after this, I want to set you up for that. And that's so insane. If you're watching this, MrBeast, I Love you, bro.
After that, Taylor Lorenz responds directly to Phillip DeFranco by saying, "This is a gross misrepresentation to see from a big creator who purports to support journalism. 11 former workers for MrBeast spoke out for my piece. Phil calling those workers liars says it all. Big creators like Phil don't want accountability in the industry. You have to ask why. Read my story and judge for yourself. It's a fair, comprehensive profile of MrBeast that takes the good with the bad. I spoke to nearly 30 people for this piece, including 11 former employees and business associates of MrBeast, and fact-checked their claims. Big creators like Philly D bash the claim of workers in the creator economy to protect fellow powerful big creators, because they themselves want to retain power. They don't want accountability. Case in point, a largely positive profile is spun as a hit piece. These large creators like Phillip DeFranco, Jake Paul, etc. bash the media because they want to operate with impunity. They want to continue to dominate an industry that's changing. It's why they are terrified of reporters coming up like Kat Tenbar to hold them accountable." Phillip DeFranco quote tweets her and says, "Lol, I'm just like Jake Paul now apparently. Jesus fucking Christ, how stupid." Now, as you can see by how I screenshotted this tweet, a lot of the tweets I'm dealing with are deleted, and this one in particular I forgot to screen cap until right about editing this video. Luckily, I had some evidence of it being out there, but unfortunately I don't have any of the replies to this tweet, so I don't know if Kat Tenbarge responded to it or if somebody else notable responded to it because I didn't screen cap it. But I do know that John O'Keefe responds to Taylor by saying, "I read the article in its entirety and thought it was reasonably well balanced. I know some of the folks involved, and I'd say what I read mirrored what I've heard over the years." Taylor quote tweets him and says, "Thank you, and those who read it will see it's an incredibly fair and balanced piece. I went back and forth with MrBeast's team extensively to ensure they were given proper context, and a chance to respond to every single thing that was in the story. Also, just so it's clear, not all big creators are like this. Most aren't. But there is a certain group of very well-off, large male creators who love to complain about the media, and it's important to think about who they are willing to defend and who they are willing to dismiss." Chris responds to Taylor by saying, "Person with no staff management experience, bad at managing staff as business scales up. It's such a normal topic. People roll with it when it's a game studio or tech company, but if it's a YouTuber, they lose their minds." Taylor quote tweets him and says, "Exactly. It's wild." Bill Ratchet responds to Taylor by saying, "Wasn't it like 11 employees of him that came out against him?" Jaden responds, "There's been like 2, both proven false, unless the article has more information, but I'm not reading garbage from some hack. No one touches MrBeast. He's one of the very few untouchables. Like Elon Musk, he contributes some of the most to helping people." Kat Tenbarge responds, "This attitude is fucking appalling. Grow up. No one is untouchable. Stop blindly supporting people you don't even know."
I think you're the one with fucking attitude right now, sweetheart.
The Quartering responds to Taylor by saying, "People bash the media because the media is the enemy of truth and should be mocked until such a point where their industry of lies collapses." Billy the Fridge responds to Taylor by saying, "Old media goes on witch hunts to attack new media because new media gets the views. MrBeast actually wants to help the world. Journalists seem to want to divide it." Rachel E. Greenspan responds to Taylor by saying, "Incredibly disappointing and disheartening to see a major YouTuber like Phil try to discredit the work of journalism as a hit piece and encourage anti-media sentiment among his subscribers. New York Times reporters don't interview dozens of people just for outrage clicks." Laughing my fucking ass off. Individual reporters at the New York Times do not need to worry about clicks. You know who does? YouTubers. Interesting, huh? The Quartering responds to her first tweet by saying, "It was a hit piece though. He used a source that has admitted to lying on camera for clout, but he doesn't care because MrBeast bad means clicks." He then responds to her second tweet by saying, "This you?" showing an article that says the New York Times shares have dropped as their digital subscription sales slow. The Quartering continues by saying, "These clowns from the New York Times are letting their true colors show. They hate YouTubers because they are desperate for the credibility many of them have, and they could only dream of. It's so fucking transparent." Omni says, "To be honest, if a journalist has to reuse cancel material from an article 3 years ago in order to throw dirt, MrBeast looks even more like a saint for staying clean this entire time." Doomer Coomer says, "Journalists absolutely melting down that YouTubers aren't taking them seriously is genuinely golden." Keemstar says, "I am very proud of Philly D right now. All I'm going to say." Blue Stank says, "I can't believe I'm saying all this again, but in 2016-2018, I did some fairly forgettable work for MrBeast. He became my friend quickly, and we haven't really lost contact ever since. He has made sure I've been given as much opportunity and support he could give me, and I am more than grateful for that." To see articles staring at him when the writers themselves have some dirt on their own Twitter profiles to explain proves that everyone just wants to take him down. He's nothing but a genuine legend, and one of the good ones. Taylor Lorenz continues to tweet about this when she says, "The way a large creator's fanbase reacts to coverage of their favorite creator is incredibly telling and shows what type of community a creator has really built. This is not a subtweet of one specific person, because it's telling of so many. Creators work hard to intentionally cultivate their community. The way that community behaves and who that community consists of tells you a lot about the creator themselves. Creators intentionally cultivate fandoms/cults, and the most successful creators feed into parasocial relationships that keep fans bonded to them. They know exactly who their fans are because a creator's success is fully tied to maintaining/influencing/monetizing that community. Well, that's not really the case for me because I just read tweets and that's all I do to maintain and influence my community. I do occasionally say my own opinion, but I very much advocate for people to take all sides of a story I provide and make up their own opinion based on that. And actually in the comment section, a lot of the times the top comments are stuff I don't necessarily agree with. And that's because I didn't push a particular narrative within that video. Anyways, a couple hours after all of these tweets came out, both Taylor Lorenz and Phillip DeFranco deleted their tweets, and Phillip DeFranco changed the title of his video to no longer refer to Taylor's article as a hit piece, even if it was in quotation marks. So because of that, all that drama has completely stopped. But luckily, I was here to archive it. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing with notifications on for more content. And thank you so much to my channel members for supporting the channel. In particular, Scrubby, who has donated $100 a month. But with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in another video.